Hi, everyone. Virgo, the wait is ending, not with a whisper. Not with the slow, tentative, I'm not sure how this will land energy that has characterized most of what's passed between you until now. With something that surprises you, something that arrives bigger than you were bracing for, something that requires you in the moment of its arrival to recalibrate everything you thought you knew about where this was going. Um, that moment is close. But before we go there, before we talk about what's coming, let's talk about the waiting um, because you've been in it, really in it, uh, not the passive, nothing better to do kind of waiting. The active costs something, requires daily management kind. The kind where you have to decide repeatedly without external confirmation that the decision is correct to keep the door open rather than close it, um, to keep believing rather than protect yourself through conclusion, to stay available to a possibility that hasn't yet made itself definite. Um, that kind of waiting, and I want to name this clearly, is not weakness. It's not naivety. Um, it's not the behavior of someone who doesn't know their worth. It's the behavior of someone who knows, um, somewhere beneath the doubt and the impatience and the moments of almost giving up, that what they're waiting for is real. Um, that the connection has something in it worth waiting for, and who has chosen uh, at real personal cost to honor that knowing rather than abandon it for the comfort of certainty in the wrong direction. That choice, made over and over in the quiet, uh, is about to be met with something. Something that, when it arrives, will make the waiting make sense in a way it couldn't while you were still in it. Uh, Now, the shock piece, because shock implies something unexpected, not just the arrival of what you wanted, but the arrival of it in a form or at a scale that exceeds what you had prepared yourself to receive. Um, um, and here's why that matters psychologically. When we wait for something, really wait with investment and hope and the daily cost of keeping the door open, um, we tend over time to manage our expectations down, not consciously, as a self protective mechanism. The longer the wait, the more the hope gets quietly negotiated into something smaller, something more manageable, something that, if it doesn't arrive exactly as imagined, won't produce a fall from too great a height. Um, so by the time something actually arrives, it often arrives into a person who has quietly, invisibly reduced their own capacity to receive it fully, um, who meets the arrival with a kind of cautious disbelief. Is this real? is this actually happening? What's the catch? Rather than the full open handed receiving it deserves. Uh, and that cautious disbelief, uh, however understandable, however earned by the waiting, can accidentally communicate something to the person offering. Something like, I'm not sure I believe you. Uh, or this feels too big. Or I need you to prove it before I let it land. And that communication, even when it comes from self protection rather than rejection, can make someone who was ready to offer everything pull back, recalibrate, wonder if they misread the situation. Uh, so the preparation isn't logistical, it's internal. It's expanding back deliberately, consciously before the arrival to the size of what you actually wanted before the waiting made you small, before the protection kicked in, before the managed down version of hope became the operating system. Go back to the original size of what you wanted, um, and be ready to receive at that size. This reflection invites you to consider, what did you originally want from this connection before the waiting edited it, before the doubt negotiated it down, uh, before the self protection wrapped it in qualifiers and conditions and carefully managed expectations. The original want, the one that existed before you'd been waiting long enough to start wondering if you were being unrealistic. What was that? Uh, because what's coming based on the energy building around this might be closer to that original version than the edited version you've been bracing for. Um, and you need to be ready for the original, not the compromise, the love offer. Let's talk about what that means, um, concretely, without romanticizing it into something abstract. A love offer is not a feeling expressed. Feelings get expressed constantly, in text messages, in loaded silences, in the specific way someone looks at you when they think you're not watching. That's feeling. A love offer is a proposal, uh, a concrete, specific, here is what I am extending to you, and here is what I am asking in return proposal. Not necessarily in those words, not necessarily formal, but with that quality of, uh, I am putting something real on the table, something with weight, something that, if you accept it, changes the terms of what exists between us, something that requires a real response, not just acknowledgement, not just appreciation, um, but an actual answer. Um, yes or no, or yes, and here's what I need for yes to be sustainable. Um, or not yet, and here's what not yet means. But something definitive from your actual center. not the careful, diplomatic, non committal response that protects everyone and moves nothing. Um, Something real, matching the offer with an equal quality of honesty. Because offers, uh, real ones, the kind that cost someone something to make, deserve real responses, not performance, not managed diplomacy, the real thing. Uh, Whatever the real thing is for you. Now, the amazing part, because amazing is doing work in that phrase. It's not just any offer, um, not the tentative, let's see how this goes. I'm not ready to commit to anything specific offer. Something bigger, something that when it arrives carries the specific quality of someone who has made up their mind, uh, who has moved past the deliberation phase, past the weighing and the wondering and the not quite sure, and arrived at decided. Uh, Decided on you specifically, without the hedging, without the keeping options open energy that has possibly been part of the dynamic until now. And something that says, I know what I want. I want you. And I'm ready to say that in a way that's clear enough that you can actually do something with it. Um, that clarity, after waiting in the ambiguity, is its own kind of amazing, um, independent of the specifics. Um, the simple, enormous relief of finally knowing, finally having something definite to respond to, finally being out of the in between, and into something that can actually develop, um, or not, but at least into something real, something with edges, something you can actually hold. This reflection invites you to consider, what would you say right now if they made the offer today? Not what you'd want to say, not the ideal response you'd construct with time to think. Uh, what would actually come out in real time, in the moment, with the offer sitting in front of you before the mind got involved? Uh, because that first unmanaged response, the one that exists before the editing, is the most honest thing you have about where you actually are. And knowing it in advance, um, rather than discovering it in real time, means you arrive at the moment with some ground under your feet, rather than finding the ground while you're already mid response. Here's what also needs to be said, um, about what an amazing love offer requires from the person receiving it. It requires presence, not the planning your response while they're still speaking kind of presence, um, the actually in the moment kind, um, the kind that lets what they're saying land fully, completely, before you begin processing what to do with it. because offers made from a real place, um, with real feeling behind them, deserve to be received by someone who is actually there, not already 6 steps ahead. There, um, in the room, in the moment, with them. It requires honesty, the kind that matches what they're offering. Because if they're coming with everything, with the decided, unhedged, here is what I want version of themselves, and they receive in return a carefully managed, strategically calibrated, emotionally neutral response, the imbalance of that is devastating. Not immediately, um, quietly, um, over time, in the way that makes someone feel like they went somewhere alone and nobody followed. Uh, and it requires, possibly most importantly, the willingness to be surprised, um, to let the offer be bigger than you expected without immediately trying to make it smaller, to let the shock be shock, and then after the shock, to let it become real, to let real be real, um, without the audit, um, without the 17 filters, just real, um, landing, um, in you, actually in you. Because here's what happens when good things arrive, and I need you to hear this before they do. Um, the mind, conditioned by waiting, shaped by the experience of things almost happening and then not, tends to meet arrival with suspicion before it meets it with reception. Um, Tends to look for the exit before it looks for the entrance. Tends to ask, how long will this last? Before it asks, um, how do I be here for this? Catch that tendency. Name it when it shows up. Um, and then consciously, deliberately choose the other question. How do I be here for this? Um, how do I receive this fully? Um, how do I let this actually be what it appears to be without dismantling it before it's had a chance to become something? Uh, that choice, um, made in the moment against the instinct, is the most important thing you can do when this arrives. More important than your response. Um, More important than the words you choose. Um, More important than anything external. Be here for it, um, fully, without the exit visible in your peripheral vision, without one foot already out the door in case it doesn't last. Just here, receiving, present for the thing you've been waiting for when it finally actually arrives. Uh, the power is yours. It always has been. The waiting is almost done. Not because you ran out of patience, but because something on the other side of this, in the internal world of the person you've been waiting for, has finally completed, finally arrived at the clarity that produces action, finally made the move from feeling to offer, from wanting to proposing, um, from hoping you'd understand to actually saying it. Uh, uh, and what they're about to say, in whatever form it takes, is going to require the fullest, most present, most open version of you, not the guarded version, um, not the waiting version, not the version that's been managing hope down for self protection. The real one who wanted this, who kept the door open, um, who chose over and over in the quiet to believe it was coming. Um, it's coming. Be ready. Not braced, ready. There's a difference, and it matters. Take what resonates, softly release the rest. Trust yourself. Take care, Virgo.